Okay, let's check for understanding. What was Antoine van Leeuwenhoek's important discovery? If you said bacteria, which is tiny living things not visible with the naked eye, you're correct. What instrument made Antoine's discovery possible, and how? The instrument he used is a microscope with its magnifying lens to magnify drops of water, his own saliva, and many other things. What are some adjectives that would you use to describe Antoine van Leeuwenhoek? You could describe him as curious, patient, hardworking, smart, observant, and brave. Antoine lived a very long time ago, so how do we know so much about his discoveries? Right, he kept a detailed journals, many of which were published in England. Do you think that Antoine van Leeuwenhoek is a good hero for Nick Nutri? Why or why not? What word are we going to talk about? Observations. In the read aloud, you heard his customers appreciated Anton's careful observations. Say the word observations with me. Observations. Observations include information that is gathered when watching someone or something very closely. When drawing a flower, Rusty made detailed observations of its petals. I want you to look around the room and make observations about what you see. Tell me one of your observations, and I want you to use the word observation when you tell me. You could start your sentence like this: my main observation is that, or one of my observation is, and then you describe what you see. So what word have we been talking about? Observations is correct. So remember, observations include the information that is gathered when watching someone or something very carefully. Let's do a making choices activity. So I'm going to read some sentences from the read aloud. If the sentence describes one of Antoine's observations, say, that's an observation. If it does not describe one of Anton's observations, say, that's not an observation. Remember to answer in complete sentences. At 16, Anton began working in the textile business. That's not an observation. Anton used a magnifying glass to make sure that the threads of the cloth were straight and tightly woven. That's an observation. Anton found that the sticky coating on the outside of his teeth was crawling with millions of tiny organisms. Ew. That's an observation is correct. Anton discovered that what looked to him like tiny animals in lake water. That's an observation. Anton made friends with two English doctors who belonged to England's Royal Society of London. That's not an observation. That's correct. Let's connect. My Human Body Journal. So you're going to add another entry to the My Human Body Journal that you began in lesson 1. Make sure this page stays in your activity book. You will use activity page 2.1, which is on page 125 of your activity book, knowledge activity book. You're going to write 3 sentences about Antoine van Leeuwenhoek, and you can even use adjectives to describe him, or you can write down some of the things that he did or discovered. So that's at page 1, 2, 3, and then this activity page 2.1 should match. You should see a picture. Oh, that's not the right page. Hold on. Let me go back. It's going to be 121. and then it's going to be 123. So on 121, you have a picture of Anton van Leeuwenhoek, and it says Anton van Leeuwenhoek, and you can finish that sentence. Was or is, and do one sentence. Make sure you do two and then three. So, what are some adjectives that you may have heard in the read aloud? He was observant, very patient. He was curious, wanted to find out more. So, you can use some of those when you write your three sentences. So, make sure you're working independently to complete this, unless you normally get pulled in a small group, then you can work with a partner. Let's look closely. On page 123, this is activity page 2.2, you are using a magnifying glass. So it says on the first box, what I see with my eyes alone. So what do you see with your eyes that you do not need a magnifying glass for? Those go in the first box. And you're going to draw two things that you can see without a magnifying glass. Then what I see through the magnifying glass, and then you're going to pretend that you need a magnifying glass for something, and then you're going to draw two things that you would need a magnifying glass for. Okay, when you finish with page 2.2, you are done with these activities. Make sure you have finished lesson 1 before you started lesson 2. After lesson 2, you may go to lesson 3 if you finished it early. Have a great day.